Welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm Kathleen Walter. The stakes are high for the 2010 elections, but can Republicans win back both chambers of Congress? One political analyst who is also a Newsmax contributor says it is possible. Joining us is Dick Morris, the author of 2010 Take Back America, a Battle Plan, written with Eileen McGann. Welcome back to Newsmax TV, Dick.
Hey. Good to be here, Kathleen.
I'd like to get to your battle plan in just a second. In the book, before you lay out the strategy, you make the case for it, writing that Barack Obama is ruining America and destroying everything that makes us great. Where do you believe this president has done the most damage?
Well, obviously, with the debt, he has literally mortgaged the whole country. In the space of 220 years of our republic, we amassed a $9 trillion debt. And in the space of 18 months, we added $3 trillion to it, a third again as much. And that's setting up this huge rock or sword that hangs over our country, which is, what are we going to do about it? We obviously can't leave it as borrowed money. We're either going to have to cut spending or raise taxes. And that is going to be the crucial decision that will shape the economic future of the United States. And that decision will be made by the Congress we elect this year. And that's why we write that voting in 2010 may be the most important thing you do all year.
What is your strategy, Dick, for taking back America?
Well, look, right now, members of Congress are about as independent as members of the Electoral College. You know, they get elected on one party or the other, and then they go to Washington and they vote the line of that party. So no matter how conservative a Democrat may be, the first thing he does in Congress is vote for Nancy Pelosi as Speaker or Harry Reid as Senate Majority Leader. And once they do that, the other votes really don't matter. Because once they control the leadership of those chambers, they can do pretty much anything that they want. They can make up the rules as they go along. So the worst Republican is better than the best Democrat. And that's why I think it has to be a party line choice.
Now, Republicans need to pick up 10 seats in the Senate to regain control, but the GOP could win as many as 14 seats. Which Democrats, Dick, do you see are most vulnerable?
Well, there are 8 seats right now where the Republican Party, Republican candidate, or either of the Republican candidates where they have a primary, is actually ahead of the Democrat. And in most cases, when an incumbent Democrat is under 50, they're going to lose. But in these cases, they're actually ahead. And they are Delaware, Pennsylvania, Indiana, North Dakota, Arkansas, Colorado, Illinois, and Nevada. Then you have a 9th seat, which is California, where they're basically tied. And Boxer, the incumbent, is way under 50%. She's at about 43. So most of the undecided goes against the incumbent. So that probably is the 9th seat. But we need 10. And for the 10th seat, I think that Dino Rossi will run in Washington state. He lost the governorship by 267 votes after 5 recounts where the Democrats stole it from him. And I think he can beat Patty Murray, the incumbent. He's tied with her in the polls. I think that we have a strong candidate emerging in Wisconsin. And I think there are 3 or 4 good Republicans who are challenging Kristen Gillibrand in New York. And don't forget Connecticut, where Dodd retired, and Blumenthal, the Attorney General, was supposed to be unbeatable, and now he's only at 52% of the vote. Used to be at 60. So those are all possibilities for the crucial 10th seat.
Now in the House, Republicans need to pick up 39 seats to get control. How optimistic are you that Republicans can close that wide of a gap? And where should Republicans concentrate their efforts?
I'm not optimistic, Kathleen. I'm dead certain that we can do it. There are 12 vacancies of Democratic seats that will probably go Republican. And there's 1 of a Republican seat that'll probably go Democrat. So we'll pick up 11 from retirements. Then there are 17 that I list in my book, and I call them dead men walking. They're folks who won with very narrow margins in heavily Republican districts. They only won because of the Obama sweep or because of a scandal among the Republican or something like that. And that'll put us within 12 of victory. And then I have a list of 37 and an additional list of 40 Democrats that I think are vulnerable, and I think we should win about a third of those. The key thing is to get your copy of 2010, Take Back America Battle Plan, the book. and look at each of those races and figure out which ones you can get involved in. And remember that we only need 39 to take back control. Now, there are 435 members of Congress. So that means only 10% of us live in districts which will determine the shifting of control. So what are the other 90% of us going to do? What you need to do is to go through that list and adopt a Democrat. Find a Democrat there who's nearby or someone who you particularly don't like. Find out the name of his opponent and start giving the opponent money. Start contacting friends of yours that live in his district. And the other 90% of us have to be involved in winning the seats in 10% of the country.
Dick, there's been increasing talk that Florida's Governor Charlie Crist will run as an independent in the race for the Senate seat vacated by Mel Martinez. Do you see that happening?
He might, but it doesn't matter. Kenneth Meeks, M-E-E-K-S, the Democratic candidate, is very weak. He would probably finish third in that contest. So that seat is safely Republican, even if Crist splits the vote.
The Arkansas Senate race is shaping up to be very interesting, with Lincoln under attack from the left. You know Arkansas well. Do Republicans win it?
Yeah, I think that Lincoln may lose her primary. She's got a primary that you alluded to by a guy named Halter, who's the lieutenant governor, who's a self-funder. He's a rich guy, doesn't have much else going for him, but he's to the left of Lincoln. Either of them, though, is going to get clobbered by John Boozman, the congressman from northwestern Arkansas, who is a Republican.
What's your take on the New York Senate race?
Well, you have Schumer, who really doesn't have serious opposition, although he deserves it. Then you have Gillibrand, and Rasmussen says that Gillibrand running against a generic Republican, without mentioning a name, manages to win by only 40 to 39. So she's in very vulnerable shape. And you have three good Republican challengers, a guy named Malpass, who is an economist who writes for the Wall Street Journal a lot, a guy named DiAguardi, a former congressman who's a really strong, attractive guy, kind of a little bit like Ed Koch or Fiorello LaGuardia. And then you have Bruce Blakeman from Nassau County, who's really got a tremendous campaign style. Any of the three of them could beat Gillibrand.
We interviewed Senator Joe Lieberman recently, and he said he may run as an independent, yet also left open the door to a GOP run in 2012. What would your advice to him be?
Well, it might be interesting for Joe to come over to the Republican Party, but the problem is that I don't see them nominating someone who voted for the stimulus package and voted for the health care bill and is pro-choice and all that stuff. I don't think it would be a natural fit. I hope that Joe runs for re-election to the Senate in Connecticut as an independent, and I think he'd win.
Dick, there's been a lot of talk lately that it might actually help President Obama's chances for 2012 if he loses one chamber of Congress, because he could then run against the GOP as an outsider while painting them for his lack of accomplishments. What is your take on that?
Well, if he tries to do that, he's going to lose. If the Republicans win Congress in 2010, and Obama genuinely reaches out to them the way Clinton did reach out to the Republicans when I was in the White House, and really crafts meaningful joint legislation that advances the Republican agenda, like Clinton did with welfare reform and balancing the budget, then that could be his ticket to re-election. But I don't think it's in the cards. I think he'll do just what you said, and I think that's not going to mean anything to the American people. After all, he's the guy they elected to end partisan fighting in Washington, not to win it.
Dick, the last question's on a separate topic, yet a very important one as it relates to our national security. In the past, you've advised Benjamin Netanyahu. Even Perez now says Iran poses a mortal threat. Frank Gaffney says Iran will have nukes any day. What would your advice to Netanyahu be? Strike now or not without the U.S.?
No, I think Netanyahu has got to strike when he feels that the time is right. There may be technical issues that he may be resolving, but whatever it is, Netanyahu has got to bomb Iran. He's got to take those missiles out of play. I think Americans, particularly American supporters of Israel, missed what Obama did last week. He absolutely sold Israel down the river. He said that the United States had a security interest in resolving the Israeli-Palestinian fight. That echoes what General Petraeus has been saying, which is that it's Israel's fault that they're shooting at Americans because Israel won't cave in to the demands of the Palestinians for the West Bank. And this is really an ongoing effort by the pro-Arab members of the administration, which I think includes the president, to somehow make Israel the villain, whereas in fact Israel is the victim. We all know one fundamental fact about the Middle East. If Israel stopped fighting, there would be no Israel. And if the Arabs stopped fighting, there would be no war.
The book is 2010 Take Back America by Dick Morris and Eileen McGann. It is a must-read for anyone who cares deeply about our country. Dick Morris, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.